Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Welcome, my child, to the eternal kingdom of light. Come, all who seek peace and light, enter into my eternal kingdom.
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. All right. What I want to get into this evening, dealing with the weapons of his indignation. The weapons of his indignation. All right. And the weapons of the Lord in the nation are these thermonuclear missiles. Okay. And the Lord has allowed Esau, Edom, in his time frame, all right, within his rulership, all right, to create a weapon, all right, that's going to be used for mass judgment, okay, because the Lord is going to judge this current age with fire, all right, and especially here in America, okay, over here in the West, you see, America is going to get the brunt of the Lord's anger, okay, when he begins to judge the earth, where America is going to get the worst end of it, okay, via all these thermonuclear missiles that's going to come from all these other nations here to Babylon, okay, which is going to completely eradicate, all right, the land mass of America and turn it into a desert. And everyone that's not of the elect, all right, that's not delivered on the chariot out of America will be destroyed. Okay, it will be no inhabitants. And it's only one weapon that's capable of doing that these nations possess. And this is this thermonuclear weapon. Okay, so I want to get a few precepts. I also want to play a video by the beloved, brother Tazamach out of GMS Memphis. Watching a video he posted about that missile, okay, about that nuclear technology, and it just hit home, especially for the times that we in now, okay, because we have to understand this war, all right, that America has started with Iran, well, it's going to escalate. Not saying, all right, this weekend, okay, this summer. All right, but eventually this war is going to escalate. Even if they do any type of ceasefire, okay, this war is going to pick back up, okay, and eventually it's going to escalate to nuclear destruction. Okay, they're going to go from conventional to nuclear. Okay, so when you go to the scriptures, let's get this. It's the book of Jeremiah. All right, chapter 50. Okay, in verse 25, getting to the point, it said the Lord has opened his armor and has brought, matter of fact, read verse 24. It says, Jeremiah 50 and 24 says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon. Okay, because America has walked into the trap of this war. Okay, as America walked into this war, all right, to fulfill the wicked ambition of the elites, okay, to start this third world war. You know, you have these small hats to have, you know, this agenda of a greater Israel project. And within that greater Israel project, Iran needs to be taken down. Okay, Iran needs to be dismantled. Okay, and under the control, all right, of small hats. Okay, and they threw America into this war. All right, and it was a trap. You see, Esau was trapped by his wicked ambition. Okay, so as they kicked off this war with Iran, when they walked into the trap of the Most High, okay, it says, and thou was not aware, okay, because in these devils' mind, okay, they're used to prospering in all their wickedness, man. Okay, they're used to prosper in all his wickedness, but like the scriptures say, you know, his terribleness has deceived thee. Okay, his reputation for being a bully amongst these smaller nations, amongst these weaker nations, all right, put him in the spirit to where he can pull off anything. Okay, but the Lord has it set up to where this war is going to end this man. This war that this devil has started is going to end his rulership. Okay, and the rulership of all these heathens, man. Okay, and it says, and are also caught because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai in America. Okay, has been the chief place of rebellion against righteousness in the earth. Okay, America sets the tone for wickedness in the earth, man. Okay, and that's why the Lord gonna set the tone with America with judgment. Okay, in this war, the Lord is going to open up His army. Jeremiah 50:25 it said, "The Lord have opened up His army and have brought forth the weapons of His indignation, for this is the work of the Lord of hosts, all right, in the land of the Chaldeans." Okay, so the Lord have opened up His army. Okay, the Lord in this war, the Lord is going to open up His army, which are these thermonuclear missiles. Okay, with these hypersonic projectiles, it's going to make it to America. Okay, instantly, man, very swiftly. Okay, the scripture say, well, the Lord has a swift destruction. Okay, and these are weapons of His indignation, which is indignations are righteous anger. Okay, so the Lord is going to use this technology that He gave to these devils, okay, to judge these devils, man. You see, so this is the work of the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai of hosts. You know, and it's going to be felt the most here. The weapon of indignation going to be felt the most here in the land of the Chaldeans, man, which is America, man. Okay, Babylon the Great. You see, so let's go from there because you have to think, okay, what weapon is capable of doing this damage spoken of in the scriptures? You know, when you go into let's go here, matter of fact. This is Jeremiah, okay, chapter 50, verse 13 said, because of the wrath, all right, remember indignation goes into a righteous anger, righteous wrath, okay, because of the wrath of the Lord, okay, it shall not be inhabited. And this is speaking of what America, what's going to empty America out from its inhabitants? What weaponry, okay, can just eradicate all the inhabitants of this large nation? But it shall be wholly desolate, which means completely destroyed. What weapon can do that? What weapon can disintegrate, okay, all this infrastructure in America, man? Okay, so everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and that's everyone that sees, okay, the aftermath. Okay, everyone that looks at the aftermath of America is going to be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Okay, that damn, that effect, like damn, you know, because this destruction gonna be televised, man. The Lord wants the earth to see this destruction. You see, it said, "Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrow." And these arrows, okay, are speaking of missiles. Okay, these arrows speaking of in prophecy. When you go to Jeremiah 50:51, these arrows are thermonuclear missiles. For she have sinned against the Lord Yahweh by Shemal Shah. Shoot against her round about. She have given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh by Shemal Shah. Take vengeance upon her as she have done, do unto her. And what has America, all right, been doing since it had the ability, man? It's just been bombing nations to hell and back. Okay, so all these bombing campaigns, airstrikes, carpet bombing, okay, bombing civilians. See, all this finna come back in a moment. All that wickedness that America have done over all these decades with its military, well, it's gonna come back in a moment. Okay, they've been bombing all across the world, where all the world is gonna send nuclear missiles to America, man. All these nations that have nuclear capability are going to send those nukes over here to America, man. Spare no arrows, man. Every nuke that they got, okay, is coming over here to America, okay, to make it desolate and land without inhabitants, man. Okay, so let's go here real quick. And the Lord put the spirit on these devils to come up with this weaponry, man. Okay, when you go to Isaiah 54, all right, Isaiah 54 and 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, all right, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." Okay, I have created the waster to destroy. Okay, so the Lord tapped into these devils, okay, because the smith, and the blacksmith in the day, he will be the one, who will make swords. Okay, they will make weaponry. Of course, he will make other things too, like farming tools and different things. But he will also make weaponry. All right, he will modify, okay, weaponry. The blacksmith, he will customize weapons. Okay, so the modern day smith, okay, are these engineers and scientists. Okay, that these devils tasked, okay, with making this weaponry, man. Okay, and you go into one of the founders of dealing with nuclear physics, just peep this nigga name, man. You can't make it up. Okay, and then we'll segue to that video. All right, this is real quick Wikipedia. Okay, it says from 1937. Check out the name, Robert Abraham Esau. Robert Abraham Esau, man. Okay, Robert Abraham Esau. All right, well, he was a Teemanite. Okay, the scripture speak of the wise men, the Teeman. Einstein. All these played a part. Okay, in nuclear weaponry. Okay, they were Teemanites. Oppenheimer. Okay, this is from 1937. Esau was head of the physics section of the newly created Research Council for From 1939, he was professor at the University of Berlin and president of REC Physical and Technical Institute. From his position in RFR, he initiated the first meeting of the Uranium Club in early 1939, the precursor to the Army Ordnance Office, HWA, German nuclear energy project, which began in September of that year. When the HWA gave control of the project to RFR in 1942, Esau became the plenipotentiary, all right, which is the head, all right. I don't want to use that long ass word. You say he was the head, all right, or chief. God damn. It says of nuclear physics and was in control of the project in 1944, a 144. And then it says Esau became the plenipotentiary of the high frequency engineer and radar work group. During World War II, Esau was one of the most powerful physicists in Germany. After World War II until 1948, Esau was a prisoner of the War of the Dutch from 1949. So we just go into this devil. Okay, he played a part. Okay, in the physics. All right, of creating weaponry. Okay, he played a major part in this, man. You see, along with these other devils, like I say, Einstein, Oppenheimer. Okay, I think Galileo. Okay, but he was one of those Smiths. All right, so the brothers in Birmingham, the blood brothers out in the GMS Church of Birmingham, they brought this out, years ago. It just stuck with me. But let's go here. Let's segue to this video. Okay. All right, and this is from the beloved brother. All right, Tazamak out in Dallas. Okay, Salaki out in Memphis. Salaki. This is the beloved brother Tazamak out of Memphis. And the channel GMS Through the Fire. All right, subscribe. All right, and be edified. Okay, so let's play this.
And those who live in Picard pursue, kill, and completely destroy them, declares the Lord. Do everything I have commanded you. The noise of battle is in the land, the noise of great destruction. How broken and shattered is the hammer of the whole earth, how desolate is Babylon among the nations. I set a trap for you, Babylon, and you were caught before you knew it. You were found and captured because you opposed the Lord. The Lord has opened his arsenal and brought out the weapons of his wrath. For the sovereign Lord Almighty has work to do in the land of the Babylonians. Come against her from afar. Break open her granaries, pile her up like heaps of grain. Completely destroy her and leave her no remnant.
I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, and I want to visualize for you what it would look like if a nuclear weapon landed on the nation's capital. So, for our scenario, there is a nuclear weapon headed towards the city right now. A large nuclear weapon flying, headed towards Washington, D.C. The actual bomb is actually in here. This cone that's about 2 meters tall, 6 feet. It's falling back into the atmosphere. Here it comes. And then, for a moment, right here is the hottest thing in our solar system, hotter than the sun. 100 million degrees Celsius as it expands out. Everything around it turns into dust. I mean, smaller than dust. Atoms are ripped apart. This fireball instantly vaporizes everything within a half-a-mile radius. And here comes the blast wave. A wall of high-pressure air that is moving faster than the speed of sound. It creates wind behind it that is faster than anything ever observed in nature. Everything within 2.5 miles is leveled. And then there's the heat wave, which burns everything within 5 miles. Nearly everyone in this city is either dead or severely injured. Everything that can be on fire is now on fire as this huge mushroom cloud rises into the air, dragging with it a storm of dust, dirt, and debris. But this isn't normal dust anymore. The bomb has done something to it, to its atoms, making them fall apart in slow motion, shooting out invisible, deadly energy. This poison dust drifts all across this region. It clings to soil and plants and people hundreds of miles away. These poisoned atoms will keep firing off radiation for years, for decades, centuries, even thousands of years. This is a disaster that humans made, and that was just for one of these cones. A rocket fired from an American submarine can carry 8 of these cones at once. If all of those hit one target, it would be a much worse situation. A lot of global politics centers around this, making sure this does not happen. But everything I just showed you is very possible. We have the capabilities to do this right now. And in fact, a lot of countries...
And we have a guarantee according to the scriptures that it will happen. You know, so we don't have to speculate whether or not nuclear destruction is going to happen. It will. It's a guarantee. Okay, and that's the Lord's purpose, that He had purpose for Mystery Babylon. Okay, which is America. All right, but you're going to have, you're going to have 200 million of those warheads. Okay, those little cones. All right, that's going to hit America, man. The Lord's going to overkill when it comes to America, man.
Countries have their finger on the trigger, able to launch one of these at a moment's notice. And I've spent a very long time trying to understand why. Why have we done this?
Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord has spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled unto the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant.
And that's the why. Okay, that's the why behind this destruction. Okay, because of rebellion. Okay, this is the same atmosphere before the flood, and this is the same atmosphere before during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, so the Lord has to bring horrific judgment, just as He did before the flood. Okay, and during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and He's going to flood America with fire. That's why America is going to be the lake of fire, like the Lord combined the flood, okay, and the judgment of Sodom. Okay, this is why. You look at the behavior of the earth. Okay, the scriptures speak about, how America would behave as Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and get that same judgment. You see, Sodom and Gomorrah was an example for any nation who will live after, and America fulfills the wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah, which those are who Canaanites. Okay, which Sodom and Gomorrah was heavy into Baal worship. Okay, which we know, all right, these Edomites, okay, the Epstein crew over here in the West are heavy into Baal worship, man. Okay.
Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy.
With that, let's keep talking about nukes. It was the 1930s in Germany, and some scientists were tinkering with atoms, and they found a way to break some atoms apart and get in on this insanity of E equals MC squared.
Pretty crazy how safe nuclear power is. But nuclear weapons are scary, aren't they?
Yeah.
When uranium-235 exists in nature, it's not real happy. It's kind of unstable. if a U-235 atom ever gets hit by a neutron, which I happen to have a neutron here. If U-235 ever gets hit by a neutron, then it gets really unstable, and then it breaks apart. That right there breaks into two other atoms. I threw my neutron across the room. That's dangerous when you got U-235 around. I think of U-235 like a mousetrap. So if you think about it, you've got this atom chilling out, and it's got all these neutrons right there, ready to go. If it ever gets triggered, then it will fire, and it will throw off these other neutrons, and they go off. And so if you have a clever arrangement of more U-235 atoms around that, then you can start what's called a chain reaction.
Those neutrons bombard other uranium atoms, causing them to split and split still others. The result, a chain reaction.
They were doing fission, the breaking of big unstable atoms apart. And this wasn't as powerful as the fusion, the combining of atoms that's happening in the center of the sun, but it was still unlike anything the world had ever seen.
Under Hitler, the country was becoming the dominant power in Central Europe.
Germany was kind of getting ready to take over the entire world, and so they thought, what if we weaponize this new nuclear breaking thing we invented? And Einstein, the E equals MC squared guy, was alive at this time and watching his equations be turned into weapons. And Einstein writes this letter to the American president urging the US to make the bomb before Germany does. And this is where we get into Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project, brilliant physicists building atomic bombs in the desert, racing against time during World War II. The US, of course, wins this race for the nuclear weapon. They drop 2 of these fission bombs on Japan in 1945. The war is over, and the world has changed forever. Nothing would ever be the same. It was the beginning of a new way of global conflict. A few years later, the Soviets made one of their own, and thus begins a new race. Who can make the bigger bomb? And this is where the US is like, let's not just do the thing where we break atoms apart, let's do what the sun is doing. Fuse the atoms together. That's way more powerful. And they figure it out just a few years later, and the results are insane.
Those are capable of megatons of power, 1,000 times more powerful. Because apparently, leveling a city was not powerful enough.
Let me show you what today's nukes look like and how they work. This is a modern nuclear weapon, sometimes called a thermonuclear weapon, hydrogen bomb. This cone is about the same height as an American male. And the actual bomb is in here. We don't know exactly how big it is, but we know it's shaped like a peanut. This cone needs to be mounted on something to deliver it to the target. In this example, it's on a huge rocket that flies to space, can carry this nuke like over 1,000 kilometers away. Eventually, the rocket part falls away, and the cone starts falling towards its target. And then, when it hits its pre-programmed altitude, it detonates. But watch what happens. This is crazy. It's actually 3 bombs. It starts with just a regular old explosive bomb, no nuclear stuff yet. But this bomb inside of this very small peanut-shaped space triggers a fission bomb, the first type that we invented, the one that overcomes the forces keeping an atom stable and breaks them apart and turns a tiny bit of matter into a huge amount of energy. So there's a fission reaction happening, and that shoots out a huge amount of energy at the speed of light that bounces off all these shiny beryllium walls. And then it hits this, and this is the final one. It's so hot in here, 100 million degrees Celsius, that we're basically in the core of a star. It's actually hotter than the core of our sun. Hot enough to do things that stars do. So now in this third bomb, the big one, hydrogen atoms are being smashed together into a new form. A little bit of matter is escaping into E equals MC squared, being multiplied by the speed of light squared, and what you get is total destruction. Yeah, I mean, we made that. We made that. That is possible. Those big ones have never been used in war, and hopefully they never will. Okay, but how big are these? Put them on a city. My city. Washington, D.C. Terrible thought, but we gotta do this exercise. If you were to drop a fission bomb like the ones we dropped on Japan that killed hundreds of thousands, it would look like this. Upgrade that to a fusion bomb like the ones deployed today, and it would look like this. Estimated 350,000 people dead in minutes. During the Cold War, we made these things huge. If you detonate the biggest fusion bomb ever tested, it would look like this. The city would be gone, and people 40 miles away in like Baltimore would have life-threatening burns from the heat wave. 300 square miles of buildings destroyed. I mean, this is a horrible possibility that we have invented, and we have a lot of them.
Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant, and son and nephew, saith the Lord. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the bosom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth.
So is an atomic bomb used to ignite a nuclear bomb? AI overview. Yes, a fission-based atomic bomb is used to trigger primary stage to ignite a much more powerful thermonuclear bomb, second stage.
Atomic bomb versus hydrogen bomb sounds similar, right? But one is thousands of times more powerful. The atomic bomb, like the one dropped on Hiroshima, uses nuclear fission, splitting atoms to release energy. It's powerful, but the hydrogen bomb, it's a different beast. The hydrogen bomb uses fusion, combining atoms like what powers the sun, and it needs an atomic bomb just to ignite it. Let that sink in. A hydrogen bomb starts with an atomic explosion. That's why it can wipe out entire cities in seconds. In 1961, Russia tested the Tsar Bomba, a hydrogen bomb so powerful it shattered windows 600 miles away. It was so big, they never tested anything like it again. Atomic...
Yeah, Russia. Which you know, Russia is going to be at the forefront, okay, of this nuclear destruction against Babylon. Okay, Russia's at the forefront. So all this is biblical, man. You know, these things mentioned, everything mentioned is biblical. They're destroying wind. Okay, the scriptures speak about the day of the Lord is going to be dark and gloomy. Okay, from those clouds, those mushroom clouds, those nuclear winters, as they call it. Okay, so all this is scriptural, man.
Versus hydrogen, fission versus fusion, big versus unthinkably big.
A 15 kiloton nuclear bomb hits a major U.S. city. The initial target is immediately destroyed by heat of up to 540,000 degrees Fahrenheit. An enormous fireball emerges hundreds of feet into the air as the initial impact kills over 5,000 people, more than 9/11 in a split second. The immediate shockwaves travel at hurricane speeds, taking out anything in their path, including infrastructure, and killing another 10,000 people. Those who are unfortunate to be looking straight into the light cause so much trauma to their retina that permanent blindness in hundreds, even thousands of people is immediate. Those located around a mile away see the wave coming towards them as another 15,000 people are killed. The scene is horrific as burn victims, dead bodies, and people impaled with objects through their bodies litter the streets.
Chapter 34. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine.
All right, so let's go from there. Let's get a few precepts. Okay, when you go to, let's go here to, let's go to Zephaniah. All right, because it speaks about the atmosphere. Okay, or those nukes. Okay, because the ultimate day of the Lord is the nuclear destruction. Because that's when Yahweh Shai, okay, is going to appear on the scene. Okay, he's going to enter this realm, the day of the nukes. He's going to deliver his people. And the scripture say, well, the righteous shall be scarcely saved. Scarcely saved what? From this nuclear destruction, man. Okay? Zephaniah 1 and 14, it says, the great day of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shai is near. It is near and hasted greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shai, the mighty man, shall cry there bitterly. The day, all right, that day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness. Okay? Because those nukes are going to turn this place to wasteness, okay, and desolation, which is their complete and utter destruction, man. A day of darkness and gloominess. Yeah, those thick clouds. It says a day of clouds and thick darkness, man. Okay, so all this smoke, okay, the nuclear winter, okay, it's going to have, it can be the middle of the day, a sunny day, okay, but the nuclear destruction is going to make it seem as if it's night. Okay, it's going to turn day into night. You see? So that day hasted greatly. All right. And the Lord got Esau, Edom in hyperdrive heading towards that day. Okay. With all this wickedness that he has going on in the earth, well, he's in hyperdrive heading to that day. Okay. Now let's go here. 2 Peter 3. All right. This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 3. In verse 10, it said, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with great noise. And we go into heavens, okay? And you go into the Strong Lexicon, it goes into, the acme or the zenith of cities, okay? And that's when the city is at its peak. And America is like one great city, okay? When it goes into cities at their peak. You see, in Esau, he's peaked out as, all right, a people, as a nation. Esau has reached his peak. He's achieved everything that he was meant to achieve. Okay, so the Lord has him hastily, okay, pushing towards war. Okay, and this war is going to escalate till these nukes being like a thief in the night. Okay, Yahweh Shai coming as a thief in the night. Okay, unexpected. You see, it says, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works therein there shall be burnt up. So what can melt all the elements? Okay, all the infrastructure of America, what's going to be hot enough to do that, to melt concrete and steel, to make it dissolve to something smaller than dust? Okay, verse 11, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person are you to be in holy conversation and godliness, man? So as we know what's coming, man, should we be attached to this world? Should we be entangled, okay, with the affairs of this world? Okay, overly concerned with this world? Absolutely not, man. What manner of persons are we to be, man? We should, this place should already be destroyed in our mind. We're just waiting on it, man, but this place is already destroyed, man. America is the walking dead. Okay? Majority of the people here are the walking dead. There's a remnant that's going to be delivered of the elect, and the rest are just the walking dead. Okay, it says, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, what's going to do that, man? The nuclear heat. And speak of it being hotter than the sun. Let you know that's a judgment that's out of this world. Only the Most High. Okay, only the Most High could be behind that. Okay, making a weapon that can become hotter than the sun, man. That's why it's the Most High's weapons of indignation, man. It said, nevertheless, we according to His promise look for a new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, man. And this is gonna be the divide and asunder of time. This is going to separate the kingdom of Esau, the kingdom of the wicked, okay? And the kingdom of Jacob, the kingdom of righteousness, man. All right, Yahweh Shah, okay? The king of righteousness, the king of peace, okay? And he's going to usher in peace through great destruction, okay? So just wanted to get into that, Lord will. All right, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Dash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders, GMS, rule well, teach well, being great examples to young brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful. Shalom.